Today on Capitol Hill, one of the most confrontational Senate hearings in recent months unfolded.
What can you tell me about this budget request, and can you help me understand the circumstances you see at the Bureau of Prisons in this regard?
So thank you, Senator. We were given a broken agency when we took over. Not enough money, morale was very low, and many of the prisons needed serious repairs. And so the president's budget this year tries to rectify a lot of that, as did the big, beautiful bill. The vacancy rate is still 20% for corrections officers. I talked about this earlier. That has to do with retention, it has to do with how much we're paying them, and creating an environment at the BOP that they want to work at. And so that's something we have to work on. We have some of the investments we want to make, $450 million to attack the vacancy rate and start paying some of our correction officers more, and then also a lot of money to make repairs. And so these are just safety repairs, but also structural repairs at prisons, so that, again, it makes sure our inmates are protected and are safe, and that we're safe from them, and also creates an environment that's safe for the staff and the corrections officers that are working there. And so it's a big number, but it's extraordinarily important.
And Donald Trump was president at the time.
Correct.
So it was his IRS department that allowed this breach of privacy, correct?
Well, it was a criminal who worked in the IRS, yes.
DOJ power, Trump settlement, and Maxwell questions. Full Senate hearing breakdown. Today on Capitol Hill, one of the most confrontational Senate hearings in recent months unfolded, as Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche faced an intense series of questions from Democratic senators over executive power, Department of Justice independence, election authority, and one of the most controversial legal settlement proposals associated with President Donald Trump. What began as a routine budget hearing quickly evolved into a broader debate over accountability, constitutional limits, and public trust in federal institutions. Throughout the hearing, senators challenged Blanche on several politically explosive issues. A proposed $1.8 billion settlement connected to victims of an IRS data breach. Questions surrounding the Department of Justice's interview of Ghislaine Maxwell. Allegations that the administration is expanding federal influence over state-run elections. Proposed reductions to Inspector General oversight. The Department of Justice budget and prison funding. Supporters argue these policies are necessary reforms. Critics say they represent an unprecedented expansion of executive authority. Here's everything that happened. Part 1. The IRS settlement controversy. The hearing became especially tense when Senator Jack Reid turned his attention to the controversial settlement involving the massive IRS data breach. Reid reminded the committee that more than 45,000 taxpayer records, including President Donald Trump's tax information, were illegally leaked by an IRS contractor. Blanche acknowledged that President Trump and his family would receive no personal financial compensation under the settlement. However, the debate centered on something much larger. The settlement proposes creating a compensation fund for victims. According to Blanche, a 5-member commission would determine who qualifies for payments. But Senator Reid immediately focused on one question. Who appoints that commission? Blanche responded that either he or the Attorney General would appoint its members, with consultation from Senate leadership. For Reid, that answer raised concerns about whether officials connected to the administration could influence the distribution of taxpayer-funded compensation. Blanche rejected suggestions that the process would be politically manipulated and insisted that the commission would operate independently. Still, Reid argued that public confidence depends not only on fairness, but also on the appearance of fairness. That exchange became one of the defining moments of the hearing. Part 2, the Ghislaine Maxwell questions, 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock. The hearing then shifted dramatically. Senator Reid questioned Blanche about his interview with Ghislaine Maxwell, the convicted associate of Jeffrey Epstein. Reid suggested the interview, followed by Maxwell's transfer between federal prison facilities, could create the appearance of special treatment. Blanche forcefully rejected that implication. He stated that President Trump did not direct him to interview Maxwell. He also emphasized that every question asked during the interview was officially recorded and available for congressional review. Blanche further disputed claims regarding Maxwell's prison conditions, arguing that several descriptions presented during questioning were inaccurate. The exchange highlighted two competing narratives. Critics questioned whether politically connected individuals received different treatment. Blanche maintained that the Department of Justice followed standard legal procedures and that the allegations lacked evidence. Although no new factual findings emerged during this exchange, it became one of the hearing's most politically charged moments because it touched on the Epstein investigation, a subject that continues to generate intense public scrutiny. Hashtag Part 3, Inspector General Budget Cuts. Attention then shifted to government oversight. Senators criticized the administration's proposal to reduce funding for inspectors general. One senator pointed out that inspector general offices historically generate significant savings by identifying fraud, waste, and abuse throughout federal agencies. The concern raised during the hearing was straightforward. Why reduce funding for offices specifically designed to detect government misconduct? Blanche disagreed with the criticism. He explained that the proposed budget had been developed in consultation with Inspector General offices themselves. According to Blanche, lower funding would not necessarily reduce oversight effectiveness. Several senators remained unconvinced, arguing that fewer resources generally...
I have no idea if we will or not. I really don't. I have no idea if he will or not.